all try to be worthy of Aurobindo centenary.
Good evening to everyone. On behalf of Sri Aurobindo Society, Chennai branch, we welcome you all to this Satsang. Today we have with us Sri Ramanarayana ji, and he is an Aurovillian, and he is associated with the mother and Sri Aurobindo for a very long time, and he has written many articles. And earlier also, we had the opportunity of listening to Sri Ramanarayana ji. Today he is going to speak on Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Auroville, and we on behalf of Sri Aurobindo Society Chennai branch and on behalf of everyone who is assembled here. I welcome Sri Ramanarayana ji and I hand over this forum to him. Please, Ramanarayana ji.
Vanakkam. Good evening to all. Thank you for giving this opportunity to contemplate on the subject and to present to all of you. It reminds me an article of a conversation of the mother where she says that the gist could be the family in which you are born is not your family. The country in which you are born is not your country. The religion in which you are born is not your religion. You have to choose your country, religion, family. That is the divine. All of us gathered here with the love and blessings of the Mother and Aurobindo are of that family. How old we are, how old we are associated with, these are all outer calculations, but we are a family of that Divine Mother. I assume that a lot of people here, even I see the people that are here, very long associated with Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Mother Sri Aurobindo, Auroville. It is not that something very new I would be talking, but to initiate a discussion and reconnecting, refreshing ourselves with their energy and force and blessings, I would be doing something, I would be telling something as an instrument. And I am younger to many of you, and you would surely understand what I would say, and if there is any dislocations. But I am one among you, a child of the mother, like all of you are. Now coming to the topic, you see, I think everybody who has joined in this session, Satsang, have already visited Sri Aurobindo Ashram and Auroville, are a few who might not have, but those who have visited, it is unquestionable that they have experienced the presence in Sri Aurobindo Ashram, the presence with capital P. When we have reached there, something happens to us. When we sit there for some time, something happens to us. The presence which carries harmony, peace, ananda, as if penetrates our entire being, and we feel it is, of course, different to different individual. So as if our pain and suffering are healed. Our unresolved questions, issues are resolved. Whatever the kind of little bit, even though hatred or animosity or jealousy that is there in our being is reduced to its minimum and transformed to love in that presence. And our needs are fulfilled. We feel like blessed. Their presence enters in our being, into our being, in ways, in form of light, in form of happiness, in form of ananda. So our being is suffused with that light and peace. Somewhere I have read, when Auroville was created and Matrimandir was conceptualized, and it is under, to be constructed, somebody proposed Mother that there will be a room for you, we will be building there. And I think Huta would also accompany her. And Mother said no. And if I remember correctly, the reason she gave that Sri Aurobindo's Samadhi is here in Pondicherry. She wanted to be there in that presence of Sri Aurobindo, even though he left his body, but he is fully there. And once, I think many of you have read what Mother talks about Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo is here. He is in the subtle physical. Those who want, they can still now connect with him, communicate with him. Even after Auroville was created, which is after 15, 20 years later, Sri Aurobindo left his body, Mother was showing to Sri Aurobindo. You might read in thoughts, notes on the way. Yeah, I sold this gymnasium, this or that to Sri Aurobindo. He was happy. That means Mother, in her physical body, she was in constant communication with Sri Aurobindo even after he has left his body. And the message is for all of us that whoever, even today, want to communicate, contact with Sri Aurobindo, it is possible, and people are doing it. So the presence is there in Sri Aurobindo Ashram, and it is now spread all over the world. So we are talking about the Sri Aurobindo Ashram. His force, his presence are needed, are essential for the sadhana of transformation. That's why Mother, who was pursuing the same yoga of transformation, wanted to be there in Sri Aurobindo's presence, even physical presence. That means something. And maybe for that reason, I think this is one special feature in Sri Aurobindo works, that Sri Aurobindo's relics are sent to different parts of the world. And I have the opportunity to visit a few Sri Aurobindo relic centers. And even when Sri Aurobindo's relic centers are being installed, Sri Aurobindo relics goes there. And for me, it is unquestionable when Sri Aurobindo's relics is brought with that procession or whatever, I felt very strongly Sri Aurobindo's presence. I think many have felt that. And that is so strong, unimaginable. And in Sri Aurobindo's relic centers, the presence is there. In Odisha, there are more than 80 Sri Aurobindo's relic centers, and they have published a book. Interestingly, they have named the book as Presence, the Presence. I couldn't understand in the beginning why they have named that. But later when I contemplated, I understood it is the perfect title given to that book. So Sri Aurobindo's presence is essential for this yoga for transformation. And Mother has done that. And you have, in this session, you have played in the beginning that let us be worthy of Sri Aurobindo's centenary. And in 150th birth anniversary of Sri Aurobindo, it is equally important. When the whole world is celebrating Sri Aurobindo's 150th anniversary, and the special blessings are being poured on us, even if we are sitting in our houses listening to this online, but his presence is there. We are really blessed for being in touch with Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. And we are really privileged to have taken birth during this era. But Sri Aurobindo's yoga for transformation, and Sri Aurobindo Ashram is given the name of ashram. It always, or very often, connects to the so-called ashrams, retreats, monasteries, churches. But does it have the same meaning what the monasteries, churches, and older ashrams, are the objective is the same? We can ask ourselves. And Mother and Sri Aurobindo, especially Mother, has given the answer very clearly. Why ashram is created? Ashram, you see, the name was given because there is a collectivity, the settlement has to be there, and they have given the name. And there is a deeper significance, just not the ashram of, because our yoga is not of that renouncing life or attaining nirvana. And Sri Aurobindo talks, you see, all the ashrams, old ashrams, are meant to accommodate a collectivity who want to lead the community, society, and lead an individual life of sadhana, connecting themselves with the spirit and forget about the worldly affairs. But Sri Aurobindo Ashram in Pondicherry was not meant that, or any center that is created around the world in the name of Sri Aurobindo is not the objective of the same that the old ashrams, monasteries had. And Sri Aurobindo, somewhere, I think in the Human Cycle or Letters on Yoga, he has written, I am concerned with the earth, not with the worlds beyond for their own sake. It is a terrestrial realization that I seek, and not a flight to distant summits. All other yogas regard this life as an illusion or a passing phase. The supramental yoga alone regards it as a thing created by the divine. That means the supramental yoga alone creates the world as a thing created by the divine for a progressive manifestation, and has taken the fulfillment of life and the body for its object. It is not living the life, it is not ignoring the body. It is fulfilling the life and fulfilling the body. Fulfilling the life, if it is the objective of the divine to just ignore them and leave them, why did he create them? He has created to perfect it and bring fulfillment into it. So divine fulfillment in the life, divine fulfillment in the body. And for this, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother have been working when they were in physical body and even now. You see, in one of the thoughts and aphorism, Sri Aurobindo talks, she has written, thoughts and aphorism, only 2-3 lines, but it has such a deep, deep meaning. And this is one of the favorite aphorism of mine, is that the aphorism number 107, hard is it to be in the world, free, yet living the life of ordinary man. But because it is hard, therefore it must be attempted and accomplished. So to be free, that means full freedom of anything of sort, and be completely united with the divine, with it in one's body, feeling, and mind, is the ultimate thing that we are all aspiring for. But to be free while living in the world, it is hard, it is difficult. So like an ordinary man, some of us say that we are living in the society, we have children, we have job, we have business, we have politics, all these things are there, and we have to work day and night to make our earning to hand to mouth, all these things. But that is also life in this world. And to live in this world with the free, that means free from, with full freedom with the divine, connection with the divine, is difficult, hard. Then what does Sri Aurobindo say here? But because it is hard, therefore it must be attempted and accomplished. Because it is hard, therefore it must be attempted and accomplished. It relates to the same to the previous selection that I read. So when he says that it should be attempted and accomplished, does he throw us into something very dangerous thing, which is hard? No. When he does it, he is also signs, he or she both signs, they sign a blank check, saying that if you attempt and want to accomplish, then our blessings are there. Because this is the future of the world. Future of the world, future of the humanity. And very small sentence, of course, everybody knows. I like that also. Blessed are those who take a leap towards the future. She always signs a blank check. Blessed, you are blessed. If you take a leap towards the future, you are blessed. You don't have to ask blessings. Of course, we have to ask and connect consciously, but it is like that. See, in that aphorism, after that, she talks about maybe 5, 7, 8 pages and explaining this aphorism. Why it is hard and why the so-called ashram lives are not adequate or for us to practice the yoga. Because in all ashram lives, you don't do this, we shouldn't do this, it is not okay, it is not okay. So you have to reduce yourself to the minimum, and it makes you narrow. It is not the fulfillment of life and the body. What happens? You talk, you don't talk, because if you talk, maybe you will tell something useless. So you don't talk. You eat very little. If you eat this and that, maybe you will not eat the right thing, then you stop eating. But that is the natural tendency to fast. It is a mistake. It is mother's words. I would write 2, 3 lines from mother. For fear of being mistaken in our actions, we stop doing anything at all. For fear of being mistaken in our speech, we stop speaking. For fear of eating, for the pleasure of eating, we do not eat at all. This is not freedom. It is simply reducing the manifestation to a minimum. And the natural conclusion is nirvana. But if the Lord wanted only nirvana, nothing but nirvana would exist. So in our society, in our normal life, we eat, we speak, we do all these things. Then what is that we need to do? Then mother gives the solution. The solution is to act only under the divine impulsion, to speak only under the divine impulsion, to eat only under the divine impulsion. That is the difficult thing, because naturally you immediately confuse the divine impulsion with your personal impulses. So it is not to restrict are constrict, but the true thing is an opening, a widening, an identification with the whole. So whatever that we do, speak or do anything, so our objective is to be the identification with the whole or with the divine. Whether we are in ashram or in Auroville or any corner in the world, that we need to do. So somebody asks to live normally and to be free. And how to do that? Here Mother gives the answer why the ashram was created. And Mother's answer is very interesting. That's why I chose this paragraph. My child, that is why the ashram was created. That was the idea. Because in France, I was always asking myself, how can one find the time to find oneself? How can one even find the time to understand how to become free? So then I thought, a place where material needs will be sufficiently provided for, so that if one truly wants to become free, one can do that. And the ashram was founded on this idea, not on any other. A place where the people would have enough to live on, so as to have time to think of the true thing. So true thing is to connect with the divine and bring down or be receptive to the higher force that at work and carry forward the evolution. That means this mind, life and body would be transformed to the higher consciousness. That's why she created the ashram. And you know, Mother had given everything of herself. Her father was a banker and she had a lot of property and things, but to create the ashram, her ashram's manifestation. All the departments were created for the manifestation of this ideal, what she is talking about. That means all the ashramites will be given everything that they need. They don't have to think of their personal living, so that they can live for the divine. That is an experiment Mother started, and Sri Aurobindo wanted also. Sri Aurobindo says, I need only 100 people. What Mother says there, this is exactly what Sri Aurobindo wanted, what he was trying for. He said, what Sri Aurobindo said within the quote, if I could find 100 people, that would be enough. So all the material needs of sadhaks is being provided with, so that they can do that. They can live, think of the divine, make themselves receptive to the divine force, energy, without any loss of energy, not wastage of energy. So we see the ashram, we see the ashramites, we have been visiting there. You see there is a glow in the skin of ashramites. If you can see that, you will see how the energy, higher energy works, and how deep it penetrates and works, and it is even perceivable from the external figure. When I was coming in the first time during my first first time I was coming, I was always wondering, hey, how come this glow is there? I was always really amazed. Anyway, so this is about ashram, its objectives, and why it is created. And many of you know more than that too. So we will spend some time about the Auroville. You see, Mother and Aurobindo in their physical life, they had already witnessed 2 world wars. They have seen the suffering of humankind. If mother is the mother, the universal mother, mother of all of us, the humanity, how would she tolerate all these things and be quiet that humankind, man is fighting among themselves? Two brothers are fighting in one family. Can a human mother also tolerate that? She would surely try to find one way or the other to resolve it and to for the brothers to live peacefully. Correct? And being the mother of all of us, the whole humanity, when countries and groups, religions and religions fight among themselves, how could she be quiet? She was thinking how the human unity would manifest so that this fighting is over. The causes of suffering would be over. Their children, we all live peacefully and harmoniously. That is just the basis on which the yoga for transformation would work. And it was also the idea of Aurobindo, and mother carried it forward. She was here to carry forward Aurobindo's work though. And while the whole thought was there, but what happened is in around 54, mother also gave a dream, Now Auroville has accepted the dream of the mother, dream of the divine as Auroville's dream also, because he was talking, there should be a place, no country would say that it is belongs to them. There should be a place where the education would be given, where the children would not lose contact with their psychic being, and where the money will not be the sovereign lord. Art and culture, how it would be, about the dream. Though it is told, but it is what was not yet manifested. But in the meantime, what happened? There was a big crisis happened in the world, and the world was moving towards a third world war. I think many of you would know the Suez Canal crisis. So when the British when there was no sunset in the British rule, that means a lot of the part of the world was under British rule. And I think in 1856 or so, they made this Suez Canal for their trade and for their everything, the spices, this, that had to go through from Asia to Europe and to the Britain, and they made this Suez Canal, and it was under British rule. And at that time, another colonizer was the France also, and together they were using that. And what happened? The Egypt, when one of the president came, they wanted to have their own power plant, and they needed a lot of money, and there was some problem. America, who was supporting, they said that we will not support. Then the president of Egypt at that time said that Suez Canal will be for the public. It is not under British or France. So it is a public thing. So all the taxes that were collected from there were going to British and France, but then it had to stop. And there was a big problem happened. The whole story, some of you know, and I don't want to take more time, but there became Britain, France, Israel, and United States were against this the nationalization of this Suez Canal. And then, without telling United States, Israel, France, and Britain, they did something, and they fight, they send army, and the United States became angry on them. Then they threatened, then they said we will give you on sanctions. Then at that time, Russia, USSR at that time, he threatened thing. Then the two big powers were against each other. And the whole world was shaking at that time. And because two big powers now, again, another world war is at the brink, and message was coming to ashram, and people were asking, mother, what is going to happen? And mother says, everywhere there is anguish, expectation, fear. What is going to happen? And mother says, there is only one reply. If only man could consent to be spiritualized. And this is the statement what Sri Aurobindo had told before, mother quoted there. If only man could consent to be spiritualized. And at that time, it was in 1957, and mother had already the idea of creating Auroville, and something happened at that time. The world war was awaited, and I don't want to go into much details because the president of Egypt, as if he got a certain inspiration, strength, and whatever that I could conceive, and it is actually intervention of the new force, and at that time the supramental force. In that same question and answer, mother says, but something has happened in this world's history which allows us to hope that a selected few in humanity, a small number of beings, perhaps are ready to be transformed into pure gold, that they will be able to manifest strength without violence, heroism without destruction, and courage without catastrophe. And there was no war. Heroism was expressed. There was no violence. Strength was expressed. So it is the work of the supramental force which was just descended if a year ago, which could avert the world war. And it is expedited. The agreement, the treaty was with England and France and Egypt, was that this agreement, the taxes would go to the government up to 1968. And in 68, Auroville manifested. You see, the much preparation was done. Even the adverse forces were won. Victories were won. And in that way, in the subtle world, a lot of forces which are active, supporting, and that is also the reason why Auroville was created. You know, to make it a little short, I would go directly to why Auroville was created, because there is a lot to talk about why and how Auroville was created. In 1968, just before Auroville's inauguration, on the 3rd of February, you know, Sri Aurobindo was not in his body, but mother says that all of a sudden, Sri Aurobindo gave me a revelation. Now you can imagine how he would have given the revelation. That was something interesting. I concentrated to know why, the how, and so on. So all of a sudden, Sri Aurobindo said, India has become. It was the vision of the thing, and it instantly translated into French words. India has become the symbolic representation of all the difficulties of modern mankind. India will be the land of its resurrection. So it relates to very deep phenomena. And the phenomena also sees saying, India will be the land of resurrection, the resurrection to a higher and truer life. The same thing which in the history of the universe made the earth the symbolic representation of the universe, so as to concentrate the work on one point. Very clever, no, the divine? I think nobody can question that. He said that if I do something in one spot and I succeed, then the victory is won all over. So they chose one point, that is the India. But in the mother book, you might also have read, Earth is a significant center. In this universe, Earth is the significant center. That means the universe, you know how many galaxies, how vast this universe is, but Earth is the significant center. So the divine has chosen Earth to do the work for the universe, and any changes or any victory won in this on this Earth is sure to work in the universe. In the similar phenomena, you see, I remember one small thing when I heard a story in the childhood. Now I can relate it. I was told in one story, you see, there is a giant who is very powerful. Nobody can win him, fight with him. But if you go to that ocean, and under the ocean, in that there is a mountain. On top of the mountain, there is a palace. In the palace, there is a room. In that room, there is a box. In that box, there is a small pot, and there is one insect there. And if you kill that one, then this giant will be killed. The similar phenomenon. Similarly, and you can understand now how Earth is a significant center in this universe. Similarly, what Mother talks about here, the same thing in the history of universe made the Earth the symbolic representation of the universe, so as to concentrate the work on one point. The same phenomena is taking place. India is the representation of all difficulties on Earth, and it is in India that the cure will be found. Why Mother is talking about all these things? You see, it is talking about India, but the next sentence fulfills that. Then that is why I was made to start Auroville. So Mother started Auroville because of that. That means, again, you see, it comes to even a place, not only the country. So all the difficulties of the world are in India, and if Auroville is created, again it becomes another small center where the divine would concentrate its work, and if any solution is found, that is gone to India and the world, and that is the solution to one of a few problems, are all the problems of the world. So Auroville has such a deeper significance. And now, if some of you might know the situation in Auroville, which externally you will see that there is a big churning, but this churning has a meaning. The outcome will be far-reaching, and it would be solution to some problems of the world. It is my personal observation. I don't want to impress anybody or impose on anybody. You see, the problem that happened in December last year or before last year, after 2 months, actually we couldn't, in a moral way, we didn't succeed, but it was the divine intention could be. we didn't succeed controlling the situation, and whatever that happened, after 2 months, a similar thing in a phenomenon wise, symbolic wise, it happened in Ukraine and Russia. And I find so many similarities. Maybe if we could have overcome the situation over here, that big event in Russia and Ukraine that is happening would have been averted. And there are many things like that. So Auroville is created for this, to find the solution to all the difficulties of the world. Time is getting shorter, and I would quote something from the mother, what she talks about the ashram and Auroville. Because we see ashram, we have spoken about it, we have spoken about Auroville, and what is are there these two things and completely different? Somebody asked straight away to the mother in 1968, what is the difference between ashram and Auroville? Mother answers, the ashram will retain its true role of pioneer, inspirer, and guide. Auroville is the attempt towards collective realization. Another place, she says, Earth needs a place where men can live away from all national rivalries, social conventions, self-contradictory moralities, and contending religions. A place where human beings, freed from all slavery to the past, can devote themselves wholly to the discovery and practice of the divine consciousness that is seeking to manifest. Auroville wants to be this place and offers itself to all who aspire to live the truth of tomorrow. Another question, straightforward question. What is the fundamental difference between the ideal of ashram and the ideal of Auroville? Mother says, there is no fundamental difference in the attitude towards future and the service of the divine. But the people in the ashram are considered to have consecrated their lives to yoga. Except, of course, the students who are here only for their studies and who are not expected to have made their choice in life. That means in ashram or in Auroville, people have made a conscious choice to leave the purpose of the place. Whereas in Auroville, simply the goodwill to make a collective experiment for the progress of humanity is sufficient to gain admittance. So, in spirit, there is no difference. In attitude, there is no difference. It is all service to the divine, and primary fundamental differences she has clarified. And then it reminds me also one of the instance, very interesting. What is that? We are talking about the transformation of being and the supramental being, and mother was also very curious about what is that supramental being. In 1970, you understand? If mother is curious, she wanted to know exactly what it is, and she didn't know. We can imagine how much we are curious also, we want to know. I had an experience which was for me interesting, because it was for me the first time. It was yesterday or the day before, I don't remember, in 1st July 1970. X was there just in front of me, and I saw her psychic being dominating over her by so much, taller, How much taller? 20 centimeters above. You see, suppose I am 5 feet 6 inches. Okay. Then, and you can imagine a being which is 20 centimeters more than that, higher, and whole kind of aura is already all around. It was the first time. Her physical being was small and her psychic being was so much bigger. It was an unsexed being, neither man or woman. And later she says, I have seen that color. The color which, if it became quite material world, be the color of Auroville. You see, here also she refers the Auroville, how significant it is. The color of Auroville, you know, Mother also given a flower named Auroville hibiscus. Everybody knows. Those who have visited Matrimandir, the inner skin of Matrimandir, that is of the same color. And that is the color of the psychic being. And this lady was surrounded with that, and her psychic being, which is, we always see that it is just a small being inside our heart, in the chest, behind this, but that has become so big, that is bigger than the physical being, and that is of the Auroville color. And gradually she says about, this is the continuity of evolution, how the psychic being, how the psychic being is the supramental being. So the growth of psychic being is our objective. So we talked about Auroville Ashram. There are a lot to talk about, but then why we say we? That will be very interesting. We are not many of us are in Auroville, nor in ashram. Do you think only the Aurovillians and the Ashramites only would do yoga and we are all useless? No. She has chosen us. And she has chosen us. And those who have connection would certainly agree that it is not the Aurovillians or Ashramites who is doing. They are also blessed. Being any part of the world, if you are there, have connection, you are blessed, because at this moment, the supramental energy, supramental force is working all over the world. And I was talking about the relic centers, Sri Aurobindo's presence, and Sri Aurobindo's presence in the world in his subtle physical, and that also I think applies to the mother, that she is also in the subtle physical. Whoever wants to connect to her, communicate with her, they could surely do it, and people are doing it. So what is the work we do? And with her words, I would certainly comfort all of you. Of course, it does not work only in the ashram. What is that? The supramental force. I am quoting from the Collected Works of the Mother, Volume 9, 1957, okay? So it is after the descent of supramental force. Of course, it does not work only in the ashram. It is working in the whole world and in all places where there is some receptivity, underlying receptivity. Where there is some receptivity, this force is at work. And I must say, the ashram hasn't an exclusive receptivity in the world. The monopoly of receptivity. See, when I read it first time, I was surprised Mother used the word monopoly. You see, ashram doesn't have the monopoly of receptivity. That means it is not only ashram who has that receptivity to receive that higher force, to get it executed, manifested, or worked upon in the world. It is all over the world. But since it is so happens that all of us here more or less know what has taken place, well, I hope that individually each person is doing his best to benefit by the occasion. But collectively, we can do something. That is, try to unify a ground to produce a particularly fertile soil to obtain collectively the maximum receptivity and to have an little wastage as possible of time and energy. So the underlying principle is to have receptivity. If we are open, we surrender, we consecrate ourselves. Wherever we are on the earth, the force is there, the supramental force is there, and our job is to be receptive and allow it to work in our mind, in our feelings, in our body, and remain connected with the psychic, and the work would happen. Ashram and Auroville are the laboratories. Auroville aspires to be the cradle of Superman. We have that. They are working. It doesn't mean that the work only is happening here. In the whole world, wherever we are, be receptive, and to sometimes it is needed to recharge ourselves, refresh ourselves, remind ourselves. We can visit Auroville and Ashram and remain connected where, because here the force is concentrated. But wherever we are, if we want to remain, lead a life free from the attachment in the world, we can do that, and their blessings are there. At this moment, I had this much to say. Thank you for giving the opportunity. If you have any question, if you want to have time, otherwise we can conclude. Thank you, everybody, being here with us.
There are any questions? Please, you can be asked. I think, thank you, Ramanarayana ji. You have spoken about how the ashram was established to free the spiritual aspirants from the material needs so that they can aspire towards the divine. And as the world represents, earth represents the center of the universe, whatever work which is done in the earth will have a totality of effect in the universe. Likewise, Auroville is established so that whatever experiment which is being carried out in Auroville will have a collective effort on the humanity, and how the Suez Canal crisis was averted as a preparation for establishment of Auroville. And you have stated that the supramental force is active all over the universe. It's not particularly concentrated in the ashram alone. And whatever the truth the mother has envisaged Auroville is trying to realize it on a collective basis. Thank you very much. You have spoken, you stated that both the ashram and the Auroville, the basic principles behind both are the same. But where the ashram is a pioneering effect and Auroville seeks to achieve something on a collective basis. Thank you very much, Ramanarayana ji, on behalf of Sri Aurobindo Society, Chennai, and on behalf of all the devotees who have assembled here. I thank you very much for having consented to be with us and give a talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Let us all try to be worthy of Sri Aurobindo's centenary.
Bhagavate Sri Aurobindo